What is up, everybody? Welcome to my third chess video. I'm so glad to be with everyone today. In this video, I'm going to play a game called Chess960, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then I'm also going to go over one of the best games I played of all time, at least in my opinion. So let's explain what I'm going to do first. So this is called Chess960, and the reason why it's called that is because there's 960 different ways that the game can start, which means that once I start a game here, I'm gonna play a guy from, let's see where he is from. This guy is from Bulgaria. This board is random. That means that there are 960 different ways it can start. So it is pretty cool because there are just so many different ways that the game can be played. And so it's kind of not memorization like in normal chess, but you kind of have to go with how much you know about each piece. So I'll explain each of my moves, okay, to make it kind of easier on people because they're like, what the heck is this? So I'm going to move my knight into the middle of the board. Oh, he's going to fork my knights. Yeah, so that's not good. See, it's kind of like going as fast as you can because you only have 3 minutes too. So we're jumping right into this in my third video. But yeah, this is called Chess960. It's so fun though. It is so fun to play. It does take a little practice, but it does get really exciting for sure once you get into it. Okay, so he moved to c3. Interesting. Let's open this up, and then we can take. So this is a pretty normal game so far. But the cool thing about this is, like I said before, you can't really memorize any moves in the game. So that's what makes it so fun. You kind of just have to go with how much you know about each piece and what you feel like is the right move. And by the way, this is my first rated game on the channel too. I've never played an official chess game on the channel. All my games have either been unrated or against bots. So that's got to count for something, right? So we're going to take back with the knight, see what happens. Ooh, that was a mistake. I'm going to check him here, and then I can fork his 2 rooks. Whew. Wow. So that's a great move by me. Let's see what happens. And by the way, this pawn is also hanging. Okay, he gave me, well, he didn't necessarily give me a free rook because his bishop will take my pawn here, and that will lead to problems. So let's defend that, see what happens. Nope, we're not going to do that. We're going to have to take the rook and then take the pawn. So now we're actually up by 1, and the clock matters a lot. See, I have to move faster because it's a 3-minute game. So I'm at 138 and my opponent's at 144, 145. Okay. Oh man, not a great move. Let's move here. We want our bishops in the center of the board, so we're going to move there and see what happens. This is getting really interesting, and time matters a lot too, so to pay attention to that. I'm going to go here. You know, almost, I kind of trapped his knight almost. Okay, I'm going to move here. So now his knight really has nowhere to go. Because if it goes here, the bishop. Okay, so it went there. That works. Let's take. I'm not going to take that yet. Yeah, I'm going to move my rook to the center. I could have just taken, but I'm going to wait to do that. And my bishop has access to all these squares too, so let's see what he does. Okay, he moved there. We gotta move fast. Running out of time. I'm at 103, he's at 113, so time plays a big factor in these games too. Okay, that's not a bad move at all. Okay, now I'm gonna move here. That attacks now his bishop, right? So his rook might come in to defend that, or he might move his bishop somewhere like here, or back, like here. Okay, I told you he would move there. My arrow was pointed. I called it. Okay, that's not a bad move. Let's just move our king up 1. It makes my king feel safer now that he's up there. Just in case in the future there's any potential threats. Okay, that's not bad at all. We're going to move back. Oh, shoot. His knight's going to undiscover check me. And that's going to... Well, he missed it for now. So we're going to move back. But his knight can undiscover check me here, and that would win the rook. Because then his bishop would be eyeing my rook. And, okay, he missed it, though. He could have checked me. He didn't. So now I can move my rook out. Wow. I'm at 37. He's at 41 seconds. So this is getting really interesting here. Okay, we're going to move up. So now my rook's attacking his bishop, and it's attacking his knight, which means his rook will probably come in to defend the bishop here. Yep, that's what I said. And now we can move here, and now I'm double attacking everything. And if his pawn moves there, well, yeah, I'm going to have to defend that. Shoot. Okay, we're 26 seconds. This is pretty crazy. This is getting really crazy. Okay, let's take it. Give me a free pawn. Shoot. 18 seconds. 17, 16, 15. He's got to pay attention to time. That's so important. Okay, now we pin the knight. This is fun. Oh my gosh, he's at 10 seconds. I'm at 21. That's a great move to save the knight there. Another great move. I'm going to move my king into the center. Check him. Oh shoot, he's going to take, and he missed it. Wow. Okay, just move the king into the corner of the board. I think I'm going to win this game on time. His bishop could take, I don't care. There you go. That's how you win. See, when the pressure got really high, the time was what mattered, because when you look at how fast I moved late in the game, I made a lot of mistakes, but I knew that it didn't matter as much because of the time. And so I was able to play it that way and win the game. Wow, that's crazy. Because, you know, there are a lot of chances he had, because when you look back in the game at the time, I mean, I'm trying to look before, he was actually ahead on time. I started the game pretty late. I mean, look here, he's at 2:20, he's at 2:31, I'm at 2:09. His time management in the game was so poor, though, that he didn't even realize that he was running out until there were about 5 seconds left. And then it was too late. And so then I just blitz moved, and he had no chance. So it's pretty crazy how that can work. You just have to always pay attention to the time and know that if time is on your side, especially in a game like that, the chances are you're going to come out winning, usually, right? So that's how you have to play it that way. And I'm glad I got the win there. That was a good game. So we're going to play one more, and then I'm going to go over one of the craziest chess games I've ever played in my life. Maybe. If I can find it. Okay, yeah, it's on here. Don't worry. But I'm going to play one more game. So because there's not a lot of people playing Chess960, right? Because it's a custom way the game is played, I'm probably going to end up playing a similar player. Or the same player like I am right now. So this is the same exact guy I played the first time. And let's actually look at his profile. His name's wildest. He's from Bulgaria. It looks like he's played a lot. Yeah, he's played 5,000 games. That's a lot. So we won the first. Let's see if we can win the second. And that would be really nice. We could. This would be my last game. Okay, that's an undiscovered check, right? So now the bishop is eyeing the king. I'm going to take, and got yourself a chess game. So now I want to develop my knight, and the reason is because now I have it in the center, right? And that gives me access to a lot of squares. Like here, or in the future maybe somewhere, you know, in the center of the board. It's really important. The next, you know what? I have to get the bishop out now, so let's move here. And the reason I did that is so now my bishop has all of this diagonal and it can move out. So now his bishop's eyeing my knight, but that's not a problem because my pawn can always take back. So that's not a huge problem. I think I'm just going to move my other knight out. And if his pawn comes and attacks me here, then my knight can move to the center of the board. Good move by him. He found a really good move. So now I have to move my rook. I only have 2 options. I'm going to move it here. See what he does. And by the way, here's the problem in this game, for me, is that he already knows time's going to play a factor, so I'm going to have to move faster, because I know that he knows that from the last game. And also, I need to get my queen out, because his queen controls way more squares than mine. That's not good. Okay, I see a little tactic here. If I can get my knight here, and then go here, that would fork his king and rook, and I would win a rook, which is big. So let's see if I can do that. Let's see if he sees it. If he sees it, he might defend with his queen, or he might actually even just move his king up. Yeah, he moved his king up. Okay. So I now can check him here. And now his king is forced to go back. Now, an attack. Okay, so he can win this trade, but I'm okay with that. Yeah, he didn't want to do that, so I understand. He's attacking my rook in the corner. I have to pay attention to that piece too. This gets really interesting, because I'm losing on time, so I'm going to have to go faster and not explain my moves as much. So the pawn blocks it from going, from the queen taking the rook, because if his queen takes my rook, everything becomes very bad. And I'm going to move my king now up. His queen might take my pawn here, which is okay. And we're just going to have to play this out and see what happens. See, that's not a bad move. He can use El Passant, which is a special move most people don't know about. And I'll explain what El Passant is in a minute, but it's a really interesting move I didn't even hear about until about a year ago. And I don't even know how it was created. I'm going to actually just trade, because I'm running out of time here. So the more simplified you can get the board, the better, especially if you're not losing. Because if you're not losing in a game, it's okay to move a little bit faster. Okay, so now my rooks are controlling those 2 files, which is so important. See how much more my rooks control the board than his rooks? That's really important, because now see my rooks attacking this. I mean, his king can't defend because of this pawn. So his knight defends. That's really interesting. Wow. His knight can take my pawn, and then I can move here, maybe? I don't know. This is getting really interesting. And now I'm going to move back, which again attacks his pawn. Okay, he defends it with his other rook. Man. By the way, time's a factor again. Let's just take, and then take. So now he's only up by 1. Like, he's at 49 seconds, I'm at 39. So I wonder if he's going to make the same mistake he made last time. I can check him here, by the way, too, which I'm going to do. He has to defend that knight. His knight is under attack. He's got to realize that. Okay, if he moved his king out of the way, that would have pinned the knight, and his knight would have gone away. So good job by him to find that. Okay, I'm attacking him. Now my knight can move here. And now I have a check here too. 27 seconds, he's at 30. That's a pretty risky move. I'm going to make his knight move again though. Or not. Okay, I'm going to check him here and see what he does. It's all over the place. Wow. Okay, that prevents this pawn a little bit from getting too comfortable. 19 seconds. Oh my goodness. 2 crazy games in a row. Because his pawn moves, I'm just going to take it. Oh my gosh. 17, 16. He's got to move faster. If he doesn't move faster, he's going to lose again. Oh my goodness, he just gave up his knight. What is he doing? And see, now I'm just pre-moving. Back and forth, back and forth. And it's kind of like I'm almost rigging the game, because I'm just pre-moving every move. So he doesn't have time. See? That's okay. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Point 1. It's a draw! Wow. I thought I won the game. I didn't even realize he took my pawn with 0.1 seconds left. Wow, 0.001 seconds he takes my pawn and forces a draw. That is nuts. Wow, what a game. Okay, so those were two amazing chess games. And it also helped my elo a little bit too, so that doesn't hurt either. So now I'm going to go over one of the craziest chess games I ever had played. Oh no, it did. Okay, that's okay. So let me find it here. And it's truly one of the craziest games I've ever played. And it was a rapid game, and it happened about, I want to say, 1 or 2 months ago. So here's actually my rating over time too. It's pretty cool. It shows all my stats. So if you go to game history, you can see all my games. And so I was looking through them, and I'm like, which one stands out the most to me? And this was the game, of all the games I've ever played at chess, this one was the one that stood out to me the most from the ones that I saw. And it stood out to me because I won the game, and I won the game in a crazy way, and it took 112 moves to win the game. And it took a long, long time. And going back, this was, let's see when this game happened. It happened on, let's see if I can find it. This game, oh shoot, now I have to go all the way back out and put myself in again. What's that? But what's crazy about this game was it was just like any other game until it wasn't, because it's truly an outlier when you look at it, because most of my games are around 40 to 50 moves. This one was 112 moves. So it it really just goes to show you how crazy chess can be. You can win in 4 moves, you can win in 100 moves. It depends. Yeah, this is from June 13th, 2025. So it's only about 3 or 4 months ago that this happened. And I'm going to explain how it happened. So Tommy Cool 666, he actually happens to be online right now because that's the green logo shows that he's online right now. He's actually playing a game currently. As we speak, he is playing a game. And he's a very good player, as you can see. He's rated 1600 rapid now. So since we last played, when he was rated 1485, he's gone up to 1600. That means that when you look at his stats, he is in the top 98.3% of players. He is rated 488,769. His rating's 1632. And in the last 90 days, yeah, he's really good, okay? He's beat players that most players could never beat. And he's a really good chess player. So, anyways, we randomly get paired up on June 13th, 2025. Like any other chess game, I go in thinking, okay, so regular, how am I going to play the opening, the middle game, the end game? How's this going to go? So his first move, he starts out with d4. Okay, d4, most players that start playing chess, they'll play a different move. They're usually going to start with e4 and e5, right? He starts with d4. And it's not a bad move, so I'm going to go to the analysis board. So d4, as you can see, it doesn't really do much, so I just respond with d5. That's very normal. Most players will respond with d5. There are different ways you can respond, like with the knight, or, like this, but then his pawn can attack. I can go here, his other pawn can attack. It becomes interesting. That wouldn't work, obviously. But, so most players just respond with d4. And that's not, weird at all. So that's what I did. And then he responded with knight f3. He went here. And in that moment, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of moves I can play. This is called the Zucker-Tort variation. Most players don't play it. It gives them 0.032, so it's not the best opening, right? But there's lots of options. You can attack here. You can attack the knight there. You can develop this knight. You can develop this knight. You can even attack in the center, which is actually, it looks like a bad move, but in the end it can help you because there's lots of different reasons why, because then it opens up this pawn, bishop. And some players, they'll just keep developing, and then you just take this, and then the king has to take, and then the queen can come out, and now your king's exposed. So that can work. I'm not saying you should do it, but it can work in the end. But I responded with knight f6, which the computer was like, that's actually a pretty good move. I should be using game review, by the way, because game review will actually tell me if it was a good move or not. So this game was so crazy, I already game reviewed it. And anyway, so this is a book move, right? So it develops the knight and attacks the center, which it, isn't bad at all. My knight now has a lot more squares it can go to. He responds with e3. Not a bad move. Again, it's called the Coley system, and he studied this system where he's going to move knight c3 or pawn e3, and the reason for doing that is because it's going to open up a lot of pieces in the end. Like now his bishop has access. His knight now can get out and have more room in the future to move to certain squares. So it shows you a lot of why he moved there, and he obviously studied this opening for sure. So this was kind of scary in the moment because, there's lots of scary variations he could play. So I play the Coley system. I respond with g4, the bishop, and that's what I was talking about earlier, attacking the queen now. See, this queen is now exposed because it's now exposed because if his knight moves out, then I'm going to take his queen. If I take his queen, he's probably going to lose the game. Most players would just resign. So now his queen is kind of pinned and uncomfortable. So he responds to that by kicking the bishop. And so I'm like, okay, so now I have to move my bishop. I can either take the knight or I can move back here. But then if I move back here, his pawn will go up too. So I'm like, okay, I do decide to move back there. And then his pawn will probably go up too. Most of the time. But this time, he didn't do that. His pawn didn't go up too, which is actually kind of crazy because most players, their pawn will just go up too and attack like this. And then I have to move my bishop back, and then he can go here. And now if let's say I just make a regular move like knight c6, right? His pawn will now attack my bishop, and my bishop is now trapped. If I go here, okay, fine, but it's going to create lots of problems later in the game. And my bishop does not have a lot of room to go. So that's what I thought he was going to play. But he didn't play that. Instead, he played knight d2, which is actually very uncommon. Most players don't play that at all. So I just was like, okay, now I just have to think of a simple move that works. So I play knight c6. And this was when I was peaking in chess. Okay, this was about 3 months ago. I was getting really good. I started winning 70% of my games on average. I was really locked in and doing really well. So I go to knight c6, and I'm like, okay, I feel really good about this. So then he goes bishop b5. And don't get me wrong, it's not bad at all. Here, I'm going to switch these really quick. That's not bad at all. That's actually the best move you can play. But even though it's the best move, he's still down by 0.065 points, or percentage, whatever you want to call it. So this now pins my king, similar to what I have on his queen, he has on my king. So I don't like that. I don't want my king to be exposed this way by this bishop, because it pins my knight. So I cannot move my knight. His bishop has it pinned. So I respond by getting my queen out, which isn't a bad move. It's not the best move, but the point of that is now my queen has direct access and links to all these squares on the board, which it previously didn't have. That's just really nice. And I was like, okay, let's make it simple. I want to move my queen here and has access to all these squares. It looks great. And he decides to play another best move. He goes pawn c4. Pawn c4, the best move in the position. How many players are going to find that move? Probably not a lot, okay? This is crazy. So he's making moves that are insane. And if the reason behind this is it can get really tough to defend. Because now I have to take, and now check, take, and actually now my queen is trapped if I do that. My queen is literally trapped anywhere I go. Here, the knight will take, and go here, the pawn will take. If I go here, this knight will take. My queen is going to be trapped if I make that move. So I would have to move back, which basically takes away everything I did before. So I'm losing by a lot. So how do I manage this move? This move is a great move that most players wouldn't find. And I make a good move. Not a great move, a good move. A good enough move that it keeps me in the game for at least somewhat time. I go here. And the reason I go here is because now he either has to take or he has to move back. Those are his only two options. He decides in the game to do neither. He didn't do either one of those. He attacked my queen, which again was the best move. He made 3 best moves in a row. I am now losing by 1.14%, which means even though no one has taken a piece, I'm already down a pawn. I can't defend against this position. His pawns also form something called a pawn pyramid, which is the worst thing you can have in chess, which means that every single pawn on the board here forms a pyramid. Every single one, which means they control almost every single piece on the board he controls in the center. Almost every single one. It's really bad. Pawns in every direction. Knights already developed. The only piece that he hasn't developed is his bishop. I haven't either. His rooks look fine. He's going to castle soon. I'm in trouble. I'm in really big trouble, okay? And I make a mistake. I go queen d8. My best move was just to move one to the right, which would have been there. And then his queen could have came out and double attacked my knight. Instead, I moved back. Everything I did just to move back. The reason why I moved back is because I've seen grandmasters do it, and I've seen it work. So the first thing my brain thought of was, let's just move it back and make his bishop move, and I'll be fine. It was a mistake. I moved the queen back. I am now losing by 2.21. And according to this, 2.65. Whichever it is, it's bad. It's really bad. And it's not good. And then he makes a miss. Probably the reason why I won this game. He goes back to e2, which is a miss. His best move was to just take the knight, double up my pawns. Double pawns are terrible. You do not want your pawns to be doubled, because then his queen would have moved here, I would have had to go here. It would have been bad. Instead, he didn't want to take my knight, so he decided to move back, which was a miss. Could I capitalize off it? I did. I made the best move. I went here. Why did I go here? Because now I have a pawn pyramid just like him. This makes this a crazy chess game. And by the way, this is happening in very short time. He's at 9:28 on the clock. I'm at 9:18. We're making these moves in less than 2 seconds. We've already made 7 moves in 40 seconds. So that's about, 1 move every 3 seconds. It's not good. It's not good for either of us. We're both making really good moves and we don't even realize it. So he decides to castle. Good move, not the best. And I respond by making a mistake. Again, now I'm losing. I move my pawn to b6, which does absolutely nothing. My thinking was if he takes, I take back, and this opens up my queen to go here to c7. But the computer didn't like that, which is understandable. And my opponent didn't like that either. This was the best move. A lot of the time. He made this move just a little bit late because now I can move my pawn and block him. But I didn't do that. I moved my queen to d7, which is a blunder. Now I am down by 4.2. 4.2. If you look at the sidebar here, he has a 97% chance of winning, at least. Whatever that number is on the left. 4.2 equates to a 97% chance. In fact, I bet you if I looked it up right now, it would say that. And then he makes a miss. He makes a miss. He could have moved his bishop here. That would have been insane, and that would have won him the game. Because if he moved his bishop there, if I take, his queen takes my rook. And then my king has to move up, because if my king doesn't move up and my queen goes here, then his queen will take my knight. It's awful. I can't do anything about it. So I don't really have a choice. I don't have a choice. If his bishop goes here, now my knight's getting attacked. So I would have to take this, because if I don't, I'm going to lose a knight. It looks really bad, but he doesn't do that. He missed the one move that would have won in the game. Just one move. And instead he moves his bishop back. He moved his bishop back, which totally changes the game. And now we are back to even. And this is only on move 12. So I make the best move. About time. He moves his knight. He will not trade anything. He is in full attack mode. This looks like on the outside a really good move, but it completely switches the game. I am now winning by 1.34. We are going back and forth, and we don't even realize it. It is happening so fast. On the outside, this looked like a really good move, and I was scared because my queen is getting threatened. My knight is getting threatened. This looks awful. But I just take the knight. I just take the knight. And it totally destroys his whole plan. So he has to take back, and I get my chance. Instead of taking the queen, I think I'm smarter than him, so I take the bishop. I could have taken the queen, thinking he would check me, but I didn't want to move my king. You usually don't want to move your king, so I'm like, why would I do that? So instead, I take his bishop, and of course he takes back with the queen, not the rook, with the queen. He doesn't want to trade. This is a player that will not trade anything. Nothing. He will not trade any piece at all. He hasn't traded one piece this whole game except maybe a pawn. So now I have to move my knight, and I decide to move it into the center of the board and go to e4. My thinking was, okay, take, 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 take. We're in an endgame and I'm up a pawn. If you're up a pawn going to a game like this, I'm fine with that. But we know who this player is. But he takes! He takes on e4. It makes no sense to me, but then he decides to take. So of course I take back. And then he takes the queen. So he actually simplifies the game for me. So now I'm up by 0.29%. We have gone back and forth this entire game. And somehow, and according to this, we're actually even. This is a completely even game. It's like nothing happened. We just blitz moved in 2 minutes, and we are now tied in the game. What is this? Okay. We are now tied in the game. I have 7:30 on the clock. He is 7:25. We're moving fast, okay? We both probably played a lot of chess games that day. And now we're getting into an endgame. What's he going to do? He checks me. A mistake. He checks me. And it's a mistake because it can lead to problems down the road with getting the bishop out, I believe. His bishop now has trouble getting out because there's just nowhere good for him to go. If he moves here, that blocks his rook. You should have made a pawn pyramid and tried to trade pawns. That's when I make a mistake. I move back. What I should have done was move forward, and I move back. I played it too safe. And he moves his pawn up by 1. Best move. We are now equal again. And I offer to trade rooks. If you told me what's the chance he will trade rooks in this position, take, take, now he can get his bishop out, then I'll get my bishop out, and then it will just turn into a very good endgame. You told me what is the chance that he will take my rook, I would say it's about a 30 to 40% chance, because in this position he can just develop his bishop, right? And now if I take his rook and he takes my rook, his rook is now on an open file. The more squares your rook controls, the better. And that is what he did. That is exactly what he did in the game. And he was really smart to do that, and that's when I became worried, because I knew if I wanted to win this chess game, I was going to have to take everything I've learned and apply it to this sole game and hope that he makes a mistake or I make some crazy move that I wasn't even thinking about and win. I have 7:22 on the clock. I take 6 seconds to go to e7. Which, by the way, this move is not bad. In fact, the computer thinks it is excellent. It's not the best move. I should have just taken the rook, which I still don't understand why. But I go here. So now if his rook takes, my bishop can take back, and then I have still the opportunity to castle, which isn't bad. Okay, if I castle, it's not terrible. No, it can be okay. So I go here. It takes 6 seconds. He is 7:18 on the clock. He takes 12 seconds, and he makes the move. Instead of taking the trade, he goes rook c1. That doesn't really do much. We are now back to 0.00, tied. Okay, and as we learned when I played earlier, 0.01 seconds won't matter in a chess game. I still don't understand why he made this move. I think he was thinking, okay, I can move the bishop to a3, but then even then I would just move my rook to d5 and I would be fine. So I actually made the move rook d5. That's kind of crazy. I swear to you, I didn't know that. So then he moved, okay, then he moved his bishop to a3, yup. So he is doubling a piece that is already protected. So I can just take the pawn, and instead of taking the pawn, I try to trade the pawn. And my best move would actually been to get the king into the game. So there's so many options here. Then he moves his rook. Okay, so he moves his rook here. And I already knew what he was thinking. This was a plan that he had, or let's say I make a regular move, like here. He can move his rook here, and there's no way I can protect this pawn. I will lose that pawn, and we will now be tied. But luckily I saw that coming, I think. So I take the pawn first, which isn't a bad idea. So once he moved his rook here, I would take this pawn, and now I'm up 2. I let him double his rooks on the same file, and then I make the best move and move my king to f7. This is now still a very even chess game. Every single piece in this game has had its value exposed. Every single move in this game could have changed the way that this outcome came. I mean, he was up by 4 points. I was up by 2 points. We've been tied multiple times according to the game review. This is a 102 move game, one of the longest I've ever played. He takes here. Okay, best move. So I take back, which was a mistake. His rook takes. I decide not to take the rook. I defend the pawn, and if he takes my rook, I'll take back, and I would be completely fine with that because now my pawns control the center of the board. Right now, my pawns look terrible. I have 3 pawns stacked up with each other. There is no way I can win a game like that. So I cannot trade rooks. He decides to just take the 3 pawn that I gave him because I didn't defend the pawn. It was a mistake. So I take back. He takes back, and now we are in a rook pawn endgame, which happens so much. This is now a rook pawn endgame that I am losing. On the outside, this looks like a pretty tie game. We each have a rook, and we each have 6 pawns. But what matters is that his 6 pawns have a way better chance of getting to the end of the board than my 6 pawns, and I'll tell you why. His pawns are all in different rows. My pawns are not. I have 3 pawns in the same row. I can't win a game that way. So how did I come back and win? He makes his first mistake of the game. He goes, why did I say that? That was not true. He did not make his first mistake of the game. He made his first mistake in the endgame. The endgame, a rook pawn endgame, so common. These are so common, they happen all the time, but this was one of the craziest. A7. I now have to protect this pawn. But first I decided to check him first. And then he moves his king out. That was his only possible move. And then I moved my rook. But by the way, this was a great move. It's the only move, and I found it. Thank you. Then I make another great move. I make 2 great moves in a row. He takes the pawn, which is fair. How am I going to respond to this? I probably am just going to take this pawn, right? And that's what I did. I took this pawn. I am now losing by 0.38. We each now have 5 pawns on the board. Every single piece in this game is being used to the best of its abilities that we can control. Now he moves his B file pawn. His A file pawn and his B file pawn have direct links to the end of the board. My pawns are all blocked. He has all these pawns which are blocking my pawns, and it's because these 3 pawns here all are in the same row. I need to get rid of this pawn right here. That's what I have to get rid of if I want any chance of winning. But I knew first, how do I control the right side of the board? If I can control the right side of the board, I might have a chance to win this game. That's what I was thinking. This is not over. So I go here. And the reason was because I wanted to get rid of this pawn. If I get rid of this pawn, I can now get all these pawns to the end of the board, right? And then he makes a miss, which put him from winning by 1.77 to only winning by 0.11. He doesn't know in the moment. I don't even know in the moment. This was a huge miss. Huge miss. All he had to do was push the pawn again. The closer his pawn gets to the end of the board, the better chance he has of winning the game. That simple. Instead, he thinks, okay, I have to protect this pawn. He didn't have to, though. If he just moved this pawn to the end of the board, he would have got a queen and won. Because then I would have to defend that, and my rook would have had to move here, which, by the way, would be the best move. But that's not my point. My point is that, how do I defend that? And so, in the game, I make a miss as well. My best move, like I said, was to go here. Instead, I moved my pawn on the left side of the board. My thinking was as many pawns as I can get, as many of them I can get on this side of the board, the better chance I'll have of winning the game. But I was wrong. The computer makes you look really dumb, trust me. You know, you think you played an amazing game, and then you open up the computer game review, and you're like, what the heck? But he moves here, which is the best move. He is now winning this game solely. He's a 1.3 percentage. He's up by. He's doing really well. I can't get this pawn out. Both his pawns on the A and B files are open. There's no one blocking him. So, I defend. The only move that kept me in the game was doing that. If I didn't move here, let's say I just went here, his rook would block. And then I go here, and then his pawn would keep marching to the end of the board, and I would not be able to stop it in time. This pawn is a huge problem. And this is when he makes one of the most calculated decisions in the game I've had to think about. I have 5:31 on the clock, so this whole game I've taken less than 5 minutes to move. Throughout this whole game. He goes here, and I have to do a very quick calculation. If I take, and he takes, does he have time to get to the end of the board? And the answer to that is no, he doesn't. I would stop him in time. I would then be winning the game because I would do this. His king would have no chance of winning. My king would get back in. This game could be over. But in the moment, I didn't have this. I didn't know if I should take the rook or not. And so I decided to just take the pawn. Still the best move. But I still think if I took that rook, what would have changed in the game? That would have made the whole game different. This was, like when you get to an intersection, if you turn left or right, this was the moment right here. I thought about this move for 1 second. It seems like such a critical move. I made this move in 1 second. It just happened to be the best move. Okay, so we're not going to talk about how I thought about it for 2 whole minutes and I made a crazy move and won the game. It's not what happened. I thought about it for literally 1 second. And then he pushes the pawn again. He's still winning. How do I stop this pawn? There's only one move that works, and I found it. And it was going here. The great move that kept me in the game. If I go anywhere else, his pawn will get to the end of the board. His pawn marches up one more time, and I block it. This now is very interesting. Very interesting endgame. And it's one of the most interesting games of chess I've played because it becomes really, really weird because now I have to move my king to get this pawn out, but then his king can get out. and then take my pawns over here. So this is really crazy. So he moves his rook to b4, which to me made no sense, but it's actually the best move. I was thinking that he would do something, you know, like go here, and then if I go here, he can maybe go here, and then it just becomes really hard to defend, and I'm in trouble. But that's not what he did. He went here, and I guess that was the best move. So going back to my original plan, I marched my pawns up, which is actually an excellent move. The best move would have been to immediately get my king to that pawn to protect it. But I use the pawns on the left side of the board to protect me as well as I can. And then I make a very weird move. What's the best move? I move my king to f5. Could I move my king back? I could have. I could move my king back and marched across the whole board to try to take this pawn. But that would have exposed all of these pawns. And that would have been bad. So I protect every single pawn except one. My king now controls 4 pawns. It protects 4 pawns all at once. Only problem is this pawn on the right side of the board is in trouble. So he moves up by 1 square. If I take this pawn here, his king takes, my king is going to have to defend this pawn. There's no way I can win the game. Luckily, I saw that, and I moved my pawn up by 1, which was a great move, and this was the only move, and I happened to find it. This now blocks his king. His king cannot move here, his king cannot move here, his king cannot move here. The only 2 spots his king can move are back. Only 2 spots. And I want his king to move back. My pawns now at least have some control of the board. So his king moves back. Best move. So now I'm like, okay, now let's get to that pawn. And it becomes a race. Then I make a terrible move. I go right back to where I originally went for no reason. I just move back. So then I move back again. And now I'm down by 5 points. I'm losing by 5. And you're like, wait, what? Because his king can now win the game. His king can win the game. And he is winning by 4. And then he makes a mistake again. 2 mistakes in the game that would have won him. If he just checked me here, he would have still been up by 4.42, but he didn't do that. So then I make a great move, and now we are back to basically even. So he takes my pawn, I take his, I check him, and it becomes interesting. And then again, I make another miss, and then he makes a miss, and just like that, for the 3rd time in the game, there's never been a game that's had this many ties. It's 0.00, which means we are completely even. Like the whole game just got reset. We're starting from scratch. No one's ahead of anybody after all of that. I make the best move. He moves back, so we're still 0.00. Who will make the first mistake? I made 3 of the best moves in a row. He makes 3 of the best moves in a row. I make 4 of the best moves in a row. And that's when he makes an excellent move. Still not bad. But I keep making good moves in these endgames. I check his king. We are still even. Now he has the H pawn. The H pawn, which, by the way, if you look before in this game, the H pawn was never a problem. But now it is because his rook took my H pawn, and it gives his H pawn access to the whole file. How do I defend this H pawn? But here's what makes this game different. My G pawn is now free. And now instead of 3 pawns here, I only have 2 pawns here. It's still bad, but I can recover from it a little bit easier. So I get my king into the game again, and we're tied. He checks me. I get my king to f5. And then his rook defends the pawn, which was actually a poor move. And now my rook is attacking this pawn. Everybody is staring at the h pawn. Every rook. His rook moves back. Goal of that, so now he can check me here. And now my king would have to go either here or here. Instead, I just decide to push the G pawn again. And it becomes a race to the finish line. Which pawn is going to win this game? And then he makes a mistake. Every single game that I have played, there have been mistakes. This game had so many of them that so many people, there's only 2 players, that so many things didn't just capitalize in the game. It totally changes the way you look at it. You know, this was, on the outside, a game I thought I played really well in. I didn't know there were 3 separate occasions I was losing by 4 points. He had me 3 times. This whole entire game, I have not been up by more than 2. He's been up by 5 multiple times. This is finally the chance I have. He makes a mistake. Instead of moving here, instead of moving there, he should have just pushed the pawn again. But his king moves back, probably thinking now I can attack his rook, but that won't really do much because I can protect it here, right? Which would have been the best move. Instead, I go to g5, and we are back to 0.00. Again, we're tied 4 separate times. 4. This is crazy. And then he makes a miss again. Now he's attacking this pawn. So then I think I'm just going to go back. And so then he makes another miss. And we just go back and forth. And then I finally, after all of that, make the great move, g4. Finally. And now the other player can't stop you from winning a pawn if you make the right moves. Thank you. That's what I need to hear. He made this move a little bit too late. Now he's down by 3. I have the game in my control. And I make the best move. I threaten checkmate. Because if he goes here, this is game. And I win. And by the way, I am using the clock way too much. I am now down to 2 minutes and 21 seconds. He is still at 4 minutes. Let me get rid of this tab. So he checks me. The best move. I can take the pawn and move here. I'm just going to take the pawn. I am now winning by 2 pawns. But I still have to worry about this h pawn. How do I deal with that? His rook moves back to protect the pawn, right? And that is when I move to h2. Not the best move, but I'm still winning by 2 points. I could have just threatened checkmate again. His king makes a mistake. I move my king back, and then he moves the pawn to h7, and now he is down by 5. He should have just checked me. His pawn is a problem, but the bigger problem are all these pawns. I now have 3 pawns eyeing the end of the board. He only has 1. So I move my pawn up. He checks me, with my king, and he has a queen. I just decide to take the queen. He takes back. And now it's a 3 pawn versus 1 rook endgame. After every single piece in the whole entire game has been used, I am now winning by 5.45 after all of that. If you look at this hill, it just goes to show you how everything went in this game. Oh my goodness. I make a great move. The only move that would have worked, I make. He checks, I go back. He checks, I go back. He checks, back, checks. Takes. So now I have my queen. He can't do anything, so he moves his king. Now, because I have the most powerful piece on the board, I use it to my advantage. And I keep pushing my other pawn. His rook defends, I just check. Most players will resign. This guy, as everyone already knows from watching this video, if you have, he is very resilient. He will not trade anything. He'll not do anything on time. I have 38 seconds, by the way, which is what makes this game crazy. After all of this, I have 38 seconds to checkmate him. I have to move fast, okay? Here, I decide to just take. I'm like, okay, I have 35 seconds left. I'm just going to take and get another queen. So now I have 32 seconds, and I waste no time going as fast as I can, knowing how quickly I have to move to checkmate him. I have now 19 seconds, 12 seconds, and I win with 11.7 seconds left on the clock after 102 moves. I end up winning this game, which took about 20 minutes. Every single piece on this board was used, and this is what makes chess such an amazing game. This is one of the most crazy, conflicting games I've ever had in chess, and I went over almost every single move on how I somehow ended up winning after all of that. Every single piece on the board, every single one was used. Every single one. Every single piece was moved in this game, at least one time. And after all of that, I somehow find a way to win this game. You cannot tell me this is not one of the craziest chess games that has ever happened, at least for me. And it all happened by 11.7 seconds. Earlier, I had a game where I won by 0.01, or drew by 0.01. Time in chess is so important. This was a game I'm still never going to forget. It was against Chess960, which is just crazy how I won that. Crazy. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope this taught you at least a little bit about chess, because if it didn't, I don't know what to say. Yeah, wow, that's how you win a chess game, okay? That's how you win a chess game for sure. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you took something out of it, and I'll see everybody next time. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.